you so much, Kim. How's everybody doing today? Good. Well, thanks for making it out today on this. I think everybody has the weather app, so I'm not sure what's going to happen today. That's technology, though. Anybody can be the meteorologist in Knoxville, right? Just flip a coin. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about preparing for success and building your brand. It's very obvious. I've looked around the room. There's some very successful people in here. I think that in some way, form, or fashion, if you're sitting in a chair in this room, you've probably already prepared for success before. But after preparation comes sustainability. And I want you to know that if you're sitting in a seat in this room, you've also got a brand, right? In the state of Tennessee, city of Knoxville, the United States, and that people are most likely looking up to you. If you're not a mentor, then you will be. And if you don't know people are watching you, they are. So preparing for success, what does that mean? Webster's dictionary says preparing, to make ready beforehand for some purpose, use, or activity. So prepare, to make ready beforehand. Quite simply put, based on my previous career, preparation meant watching film, studying, watching your opponent, knowing what you're going to do beforehand. Now, we didn't just show up and play Alabama, right? It may look like it some years. That's for Chris out there. Don't hold that against me. But you're prepared. You know the mission ahead of time. So what are we preparing for? We're preparing for success. What is success? Webster's dictionary says, favorable or desired outcome. Now, we're all in different industries, different businesses, but no matter what you're involved in, whether it's athletics, academics, healthcare, etc., nonprofit space, everyone has a favorable or desired outcome that they want to reach. And you see that finish line, but you have to realize where your feet are. And you may be at the start line, you may be in the middle of your stride, you may be like Jim, already retired. But no matter where you are, you're running your race, right? And as you're running your race, I challenge you, as you take a step by step, each footstep, leave your footprint a little bigger, right? Because there's people like me that watch and see how high the bar is set. Looking around this room, I was like, are you sure I can speak to all these people? If I was a betting man, I'd probably be the youngest person in the room. I joke. I say I'm 28 years old, but sometimes I feel like I'm 68. I think the majority of that had to do with taking hits from Derrick Henry, but here I am. So preparing for success, it's a desired outcome. A desire, Webster says, something longed or hoped for. AKA, it's a dream. Your desire is your dream, what you want to accomplish out of life. So that's a big question, right? What do you want to accomplish? As I'm standing here today, Kim mentioned, I'm blessed to be a husband, a father, a son, a brother, a friend to many. And, that's a heavy weight. That's a heavy weight. And having the opportunity that I do now with my position to inspire and influence kids in the inner city, work for an awesome team with Merrill Lynch and learn. I'm a freshman all over again, right? And it's a cyclical world we live in. So when you prepare for success, we can probably think of a lot of companies, Fortune 500, I would call them, that have done really well. And they have a brand. They prepared for success. They know what they want, and they go get it. So I'll challenge you all, and I'd love some participation. Can you just mention, think of brands of companies. What comes to mind? What are some companies that come to mind? Coca-Cola, that's great.
Amazon. Carly Kim.
Apple, Amazon, Microsoft.
Xerox. I mean, even Xerox started.
That's right.
Yeah.
Jordan, Google, you name them. So each company that we mentioned, when you say Microsoft, when you say Google, when you say Yahoo, what comes to mind? The image, right? The logo, the brand. When you mention a brand, there's a picture that comes to mind, right? Some people learn auditory, visual, whatever, but when you mention something, the first thing that comes to mind is an instant picture. So with that in mind, When you think about these companies, these logos in your head, what happens when somebody mentions your name? The same thing. When somebody says Todd Kelly Jr., instant image, right? When somebody mentions somebody in here, what's the thought? You're still running your race. Have you slowed down? Are you continuing to build your brand? Are you still preparing for success? Because your heir is coming behind you, such as me, I watch that on a consistent basis. I think in order to be a leader in this community, which you all are, but to push yourselves a little harder, challenge yourselves a little more to build that brand, build upon that brand. There's a reason why you're in this room, and I continue to say that. I think a lot of people in here, I'm working so that I can, one day have a role so I can impact our city as you're doing right now. But I'm a freshman, and what do freshmen do? They learn. They learn from the starters. They learn from the seniors. And walking on the campus, what did I think? Just like every other freshman, I'm the best out there, right? You get humbled pretty quick, believe me. You really do. And it goes from being the best at your high school to being lined up with the other person that was the best. So which one's gonna win? And for me, being a freshman, there were people way more athletic than me. But I had to prepare, I had to watch more film, I had to study. One of my coaches called me Johnny on the spot, and people were like, "You're lucky," and I said, "No, I'm not lucky. I prepared because I knew where to be and when." Especially when you're playing people that can run a 4.2 and 4.3. I never was able to pass those times, by the way. So how do you build your brand? Number one, you believe in it. You have to have a solid foundation. And a lot of people have already built a very strong foundation, but you have to keep building. When you think about big cities, skyscrapers, you see the biggest ones first. What does that mean? As you're building, your appearance becomes more and more, right? You're getting more and more attention, and it's probably even harder to withstand, sustain the capabilities that you have, the opportunities that you have. But I think with that opportunity, you continue to grow. So believing in your brand, I want everybody to envision this. We're in Tennessee, we're in the South. Envision an apple pie on the stove. I'm sure you can see that pie. You can smell it, you can taste it. I think there's cinnamon rolls back there. Also was a guest for the talk for the diet, so Mr. Johnson. But envision that apple pie. You can smell it, you can taste it, right? But how did it get there? I think a lot of times when we set goals for ourselves, we automatically presume or go to the end result. But how do we get to that end result? A recipe, ingredients. Without one ingredient, it would taste different. Without following the recipe, my wife tells me this because I put things in the oven a little too early, it doesn't end up working out, right? So it's a step-by-step process to get to where you want to go. Now, for people that have gotten to where they want to go, you have the blueprint. Everybody's heard of grandpa's recipe, right? I think when you create something that others envision, pass it down. Pass it down to the next generation. I think me being my age and the possible opportunities I have to impact this city, I'm not going anywhere. I love East Tennessee. I love Knoxville. I'm blessed to have my family here. My kids' grandparents here, and it's such a blessing. I love to travel because when I travel, I come back, and I almost take for granted what we have here in this city. The leadership, I think the business leaders that we have, the people that care about our community. But you have to believe it. Next, after you believe, you have to embody it. You have to not just talk the talk, but walk the walk as well. So what does it mean to live it out? What does it mean to embody your brand? Because that's who you are. You have to be a champion in everything you do. And don't knock me saying champion of life, like Coach Jones taught us, but you have to be a champ. And what does being a champ mean? Be a different definition for everybody else. But for me, and what I inspire to be, what I inspire and try to influence and control on my own, being a champ, my character, my character. Nobody can determine that but me. Nobody can determine that but you. Your heart. I remember being, not the strongest all the time. I remember sometimes being doubted, but only you can determine how big your heart is and the things that you can do, the things you can accomplish. I'm sure there's people sitting in this room now thinking, yeah, he's right. I didn't know I was able to be as successful, as I am. But you can keep going and you can inspire others. So your character, your heart, the next is attitude. I'm working on that because I have a little toddler and I'm about to have a daughter, but just seeing them kind of reminds me of how I grew up. And I remember when my parents told me, your attitude's terrible, but only I could control that. And you can control that. It's 10% of what happens, 90% how do you respond based on your attitude and the cards you're dealt. The M, so character, heart, attitude. M, motivation. What motivates you? What drives you? What wakes you up and tells you to put 10 toes on the ground and get your day going? Is it family? Is it somebody not believing in you? Is it waking up so you can impact someone else and show them how much of a future they have? It's got to be something. And if you don't have a motivation, I challenge you today to find it. Find that motivation. Because you're here, right? That weather app wasn't lying. Something's going to happen today, but you're here. So something motivated you to get here, sit in this seat, and impact somebody else. So what's your motivation? And then the P. What's your purpose? What is your purpose in life? For me, Matthew 6:33, seek first his kingdom and his righteousness. For me, my purpose is serving the Lord. How do I do that? By being the best father I can be, by being the best husband I can be, by being the best son sometimes that I can be, being the best brother I can be, to support my sister. That's me serving the Lord, putting him first and letting everything follow. And I think when we check ourselves on those 5 things consistently, and we have accountability partners, right? You're your number one accountability partner. You look at yourself in the morning, in the mirror, every morning, and at night, every night. Hopefully y'all brush your teeth, right? But that's when you're looking at yourself. And you can lie to everyone except yourself. I think that's that spirit and soul inside you saying, am I living out the best life that the Lord has blessed me with? Am I being a champion? And everybody in here can definitely be one, based on the roles you have, the success you've already accomplished, and the path ahead that the Lord has for you. So you believe in your brand, you embody your brand, and you talk and share your brand with others. Now, I'm not sure who's on social media here or not, but it's an easy way to share, right? Share your brand. There's a lot of people that probably want to set meetings with a lot of people in here, right? Why is that? It's because you built your brand and they see it and they want a piece of it, right? That's a blessing. That's the hard-earned work you put in. That's the opportunity cost, right? That you spending your time, dedication, realizing your purpose, your motivation, and living it out, seeking it out. I've learned very, very swiftly, every day is not the best day, right? So I'm not always a champion of life. I've got to refresh, rinse and repeat, snap and clear. I mean, I remember playing a lot of SEC games, and I didn't get burned that many times, but I remember the times I did. What if I harped on that mistake? What if I harped on that failure? With my teammates watching me. Not only am I no longer allowed to be my best self, but then my teammates, colleagues, co-workers, they're doubting me. What does that do? That changes their mindset, shifts their mindset. But when you share and talk about your brand with your colleagues, with your acquaintances, with your mentees or mentors, then you're sharing your purpose. So you believe, you embody, and you talk and share about your brand. So what's my brand? Working with Merrill Lynch, working with TKJ Foundation. Number one, I think my brand's authentic. You have to be yourself, especially in a world like today. There's a lot of influences that you can see on TV, on your phone, And it's so easy to get away with not being authentic, not being your true self. But I know that if I'm not myself, that's not who the Lord called me to be, and I need to be authentic. My wife needs to know the authenticity of who I am. My parents who created me, I'm 50-50 of them, they know that they've seen it. So they hold me accountable 110%. And my kids, I'm blessed to have 1.5, 2 this month, and I want to be the best person I can be for them. The only way to do that is to be me. Number 2, discipline. The market does some crazy things in my profession, but you have to be disciplined from a mentality perspective. With my foundation, being disciplined in the sense of, hey, you're impacting, influencing, and inspiring these kids that you don't know where they come from. You don't know where they're going to. How can you discipline them to challenge them to take something home that they didn't know, that they weren't equipped with? Only somebody disciplined can do that. When your discipline slides, everything else does. I wonder why my parents told me to make my bed every day, right, when I was a kid. Thankfully, my wife grew up the same way, so we do it every morning. But when we don't, there's something else going on, right? It has nothing to do with the bed. I'm not disciplined in that, and I'm not disciplined in something else. So be disciplined in every facet of your life. And then number 3, after authentic and discipline, I talked about talking and sharing my brand. I want it to be infectious. I love challenging people. I love pushing people past their limits. Growing up as a junior, and my mom, who has years and years of experience in education, and my dad, who was a first-round draft pick, won a Super Bowl, then out pops Todd Kelly Jr. I mean, that's hard, right? To be a student athlete, that's the epitome of one. I grew up thinking I've got to get all A's and score 4 touchdowns every game, right? But then I came to realize, what true love is. They didn't care about that. And sure, I put a lot of self-induced pressure on myself. But now I love sharing in an infectious manner just what it means to live out your brand and to know that the people that are in your life that you're blessed with, it's for a reason. And you have to have that same infectious spirit for the ones coming after you, for the ones that you can impact, for that friend that maybe isn't on the right path right now. So I challenge you. Those are mine, being disciplined, authentic, and infectious. To think about, what are your 3 true bullet points when it comes to your brand? And ask people, ask people that you trust that's going to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Because everybody needs those in life. And that's what I think is really important for my life, for ones sitting in here that are extremely successful, and for the ones to come next. So I know I didn't talk about Tennessee football a lot, but I'll leave some time for questions. It can be about anything. Yes, sir.
Can you tell us a little bit about your foundation?
Say that again?
Can you tell us a little bit about your foundation?
Yeah, sure. So to go back to my sophomore football season, I hadn't had an injury since my freshman year of high school. I was freshman All-ACC, had a really, really good sophomore year, led the team in tackles and interceptions, and thought I was going to follow my dad's footsteps to play professional football. And that sophomore year, right before our bowl game, December 17, 2015, Xavier Dobson, who went to Fulton High School where my mom graduated, my cousin was there in school with him at the time, he passed away. He was murdered. And most people say, hey, wrong place, wrong time. He was on his back porch, and he shielded 2 young individuals, 2 young females that are surviving to this day. We talk about being a hero, right? And people say, that was such a heroic act. Well, that's a real hero, right? We watch superheroes on TV, but he was a hero that gave his life to shield 2 young women so that they can live their lives. And that was his instinct. So his life was taken. And after that season, I switched my number to 24, which is the number he wore. 6 was really important to me. I wore it at Webb because they didn't give me number 1 my freshman year, and I stuck with it since. And so that was big, small minor change, but big for me because I said, hey, what platform do you have to where you can, number 1, represent him, keep his legacy going, and make his story known. What better place than Neyland Stadium, right? Where you have 100,000 fans, more people watching on TV. And so initially, that was really important to me. And that next season, going into the season, I had a really bad knee injury. Went up for an interception, came down, chipped a bunch of cartilage off of my knee. So I knew my playing days were probably done. Ended up finishing the season, getting cortisone shots every other game. My knee drained every game. It just wasn't fun. The next year, took a medical red shirt, had a very arduous procedure done on my knee and my tibia to realign my patellar tendon, and came back for a 5th year. And a lot of people ask me, what was your favorite year? And it wasn't when we beat Florida and Neyland Stadium with Checker Neyland. It's my 5th year because my own head coach even doubted that I could come back, right? So I had to do it. I had to be authentic. I had to be true. I had to be disciplined and have an infectious spirit when I at least wanted to. So after that, I finished the season, started the second half of the season. My career was over. I had to hang up the cleats and was thinking, how can I keep Xavion's legacy going? I'm not playing anymore, can't wear his number. And so my wife and I pondered, and we put together a football camp in the inner city. And originally, didn't have any plans. I know business owners would probably be like, you're insane, but I planned it 6 weeks before the date and funded it out of my own pockets. And we ended up having 60 kids show up, right, in 6 weeks. So a lot of my business owner friends were like, man, you got to think of a better way to do that. So created a nonprofit. His mom's on my board, and talked to her about how can we represent your son, support your son's legacy, but then also impact, influence, and inspire the kids that live in the same neighborhood as him, where it could be them, right? So how do we equip them from a character development perspective, seeing role models, seeing people that can go to college and get an education? And so we built it around football, but we don't talk about football. Talk about everything other than football. Attitude, self-discipline, how to be a good teammate. And so we enjoy it. It's really fun. Our camp this year is July 13th. Really excited about that. So from year 1 to year 3, we're expecting about threefold of as many kids as we had year 1. So it's super fun, and I'm very passionate about representing him and allowing his legacy to continue on.
Is there an opportunity for volunteers to help you with the camp on the 13th of July?
Yeah, I'm going to sign Kim up to coach the wide receivers. You can run routes out there. No, so we have a website. You can check it out, and there's opportunities to support, to volunteer. I think for us, the biggest thing is impacting those kiddos, right? And when you do volunteer, share your vision, your dream for them. I think the biggest thing is a lot of kids don't realize their opportunity they have in the world, but nobody tells them that they can. And I had the luxury and blessing of having parents, a dual parent household, that told me I could do anything. And in order to have that reassurance, that understanding that you can do anything, you have to have the opportunities. The only way you understand you have the opportunities is you push yourself to go get them, right? And I think being able to volunteer to spend some time would be very worthwhile.
I saw the NFL commercials for the girls flag football.
Mm-hmm.
You see girls playing football in Knoxville? Is that something you're going to be helping the inner city girls get involved as well?
So our camp is actually open to boys and girls, and both years we've had boys and girls there. And for me, a lot of people ask, hey, is your kid athletic? Is your son athletic? And is your daughter going to be athletic? And for me, not to say I don't care, but I want them to find their passion. And if a young lady's passion is to play flag football, then they should have the support to do so. And I think as foundations, nonprofits are building in a structure where it's just as open for boys and girls, then I'll be there for sure, and have been within my space as well. Yes, sir.
What's your one favorite football moment of your career?
Todd
Favorite.
Kelly highlight.
It'd probably be, you probably want to hear a college story, but it'd probably be in high school. So it was my senior year. I was already committed to the University of Tennessee. And we were playing our rival school in Knoxville. They're our rivals at the time. I don't know if they play each other anymore or not, but we would go back and forth. Great school, great program, but they have a pretty hefty student section. And we get out of school around 3:35, 3:40. The game's not until 7. It's a Thursday night game, so it's on TV. And before the coaches go out to recruit other players, since it's a local game, Thursday night game, the entire University of Tennessee coaching staff was coming to my game. And so, big opportunity. We've been 3-0 against this school up to that point. Wanted to go 4-0, have an undefeated career against this particular school. And we just had walkthroughs. It's 4:30, no fans there, anything like that, typically. But that particular Thursday evening, late afternoon, the entire student section was there. And they all had signs and chants, ready for Todd Kelly Jr., number 6. And it was interesting. Some of the signs said, daddy's boy, overrated, saying you want him out too much, and as if that's some motivation, right? I was already self-motivated. But, being 17 years old, that's kind of tough to deal with. You're already telling yourself, doubting yourself, hey, I don't know if you're worth it to go to a Division I school, et cetera. And you have other people chanting at you, right? So I was pretty fired up, ended up having a pretty good game. We won by a good amount. And it's funny because my mom walked by the student section. If you don't know my mom, you probably wouldn't see her walk by. She's a little firecracker. But I think that student section learned their lesson. They ended up sitting down by the fourth quarter. And I think my mom was like running the student section by that point. So that was fun. It's also fun playing in the stadium. Just to be a kid, grow up, watch the game, be one of 100,000 on the field. Words can't really do it justice, but I'll try to. You just see those kids in the stands, and you were that kid, and now you have the opportunity to have an impact on the city of Knoxville, the state of Tennessee, and the SEC. So it was really fun. I think more than anything, I took the game of football, and what I'm most thankful for is the opportunities that I have. I'm now able to implement that with my role now. So super blessed with the opportunity, and I had to do it again. I'd do it the same.
It's hard to believe he's 28 years old. When I was 28, I didn't have any thoughts like that.
Stop rubbing it in.
Thank you so much for coming in. It's very insightful from someone that's 68, much less 28. So we appreciate that. Each week we donate a book on behalf of the speaker. This week it is Shaquille O'Neal. So if you'll sign this, it goes to East Mike Elementary School. So appreciate it. For all the visitors and guests, thank you for coming. I hope you all have a good week. Watch out for the